Let's look a little at the extended HOTS question. The extended HOTS question is written the same as any other HOTS question or any other justification question in past Bagruts. However, the answers that we see are going to be different. So the question is, how does what we learn about George's family and or his neighborhood help explain his situation at the beginning of the story? Now, this is a 15-point question, which I will show you now how it's broken up. First of all, they need to name the thinking skill. This student used explaining cause and effect, and this is his answer. George's family is poor and they are not educated. His father, for example, accepted George's decision to leave school early. He didn't encourage him to keep learning in order to succeed, so this fact caused George to misunderstand the importance of education and also caused him to do nothing for improving his life. Okay, we have vocabulary here. We have cause, we have effect. Let's see. The content of the answer is basically correct. It has one inaccurate detail. We don't know that George's father accepted his decision to leave school. There's no basis for this in the text. We took off a point for incorrect detail. The language is basically correct. There's one or two very small errors. And the use of HOTS received full points, 5 out of 5. Now pay attention. The content of the answer and the language are together worth 10 points. The use of the HOTS is worth 5 points on its own with no language component because we've already done language above. This received full points because the skill is appropriate and there is evidence of its use in the answer through the use of vocabulary that's connected to the skill, for example, the word cause. This received a total of 13.5 points out of 15. Let's try another one. The thinking skill that the student used was inferring. The answer that he gave was, we can infer that the people in the neighborhood are uneducated. George doesn't have any social pressure to get an education and he quit school. The content of the answer is correct. It includes accurate information from the text and it answers the question. The language is also good, 2 out of 2. However, the use of HOTS receives a 3 out of 5. The HOTS is appropriate and has been used correctly. However, there is only partial evidence of its use in the answer. For full points, the student must state on what he based his inference. For example, we can infer that the people in the neighborhood are uneducated because they have low-paying jobs. You can't just infer, you need to infer from something. From language, from body language, from some other element in the story. Okay? To say I infer all by itself is not sufficient. It'll have 2 points taken off of it. This student received a total of 13 points out of 15 for the question. Another question for extended HOTS. How do you think Mr. Catanzara sees George? Support your answer with information from the story. This student used the thinking skill of inferring. I think that Mr. C sees George as someone who reminds him of himself. I infer this from Mr. Catanzara's words, don't do what I did, which means that once Mr. Catanzara was in the same situation as George and he doesn't want George to repeat his mistakes. The answer is correct. It has accurate supporting details. There are no language mistakes. And the use of the HOTS, it gets full points. The skill is appropriate, and there is clear-cut evidence of its use in the answer. Well done. This student received a total of 15 points. Another answer for this question uses a thinking skill of distinguishing different perspectives. Mr. Catanzara sees George like he sees his own life, and don't want that George end like him. For the content of the answer, out of 8 points, this student received 6. The answer is correct. However, there are no supporting details from the text. And if you remember from a previous answer, we took 2 points off for that. The language gets half credit, 1 out of 2 points, because there is partially correct use of the language. There are some mistakes. And pay attention. The use of the HOTS received no points whatsoever. The chosen HOTS is inappropriate. It chose distinguishing different perspectives. However, there was only one perspective in their answer. Therefore, it is the choice of HOTS here which has gotten him to lose the 5 points for the use of HOTS. This student received 7 out of 15 points for the question total.